Hello, my friends. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about food. And first, I'm going to start right off and say there's not going to be any food shortage. Okay? There might be a lack of availability to get food through the normal commercial channels, but there's no lack of food. So that's the important reason why we need to learn to do some things differently. Now, the first thing that most people think of is, well, I can grow some of my own food, and that's a very good thing. And I have several videos on that, and you guys can look at the channel and see some stuff on that. I'm going to make more videos on that. But some people say, well, I don't want to grow food, or I don't know how to grow food, or I don't have enough room to grow food. Okay, let's take those one at a time. The first one is I don't have enough room to grow food. All right, folks, look out your front window or your back window. Do you got a yard out there with lawn? How much money do you spend on keeping that lawn up? And you don't get anything out of it. You can plant some gardens out there and even some fruit trees and things like that. Oh, well, that's too much work, Blaine. Well, okay, so here's what you could do. Let's say let's take the next one. I don't want to do all that work. I don't have time to do all that work. I'm busy with my job and this kind of thing. Okay, so why don't you get together and with some neighbors and go in on doing something? Or number two is find a neighbor who's doing that, because I can tell you, if anybody that gardens that likes to do it, they grow way more food than they can eat, and so they end up throwing it away or giving it away. So if you ever had a neighbor trying to give you zucchini, you know, that's what it's like. Talk to that neighbor, all right, and say, hey, why don't you grow this or that, and pay them a little something to grow some for you. Okay, that will help create a new economy outside the normal channels that everybody's worried about are going to break down, and we're not going to have enough food. Okay, so these are some things to think about. The other thing is you don't have to do it all yourself too. Like I said, get together with neighbors, with friends, with family, with your church or your club or your organization, and talk to people and say, hey, I'll grow this if you grow that, and so on. Okay, that goes for animals too. Okay, hey Blaine, I live in an apartment, man. I really don't have any room. Okay, yes you do. Do you have a porch or a balcony or something like that? You can grow some food on your balcony in containers. Container gardening is a great way to, especially if you haven't gardened much or at all before, to learn how to garden. Okay, you can control the soil real well. There's tons and tons of YouTube videos out there. I mean, thank God for YouTube. I've been doing this over 30 years, actually probably 40 years now. When I started out doing it, there wasn't any YouTube videos to look at. So we learned a lot by trial and error and talking to our elders about it, you know, about how they gardened. Now there's some fantastic new ways to garden, and not necessarily new, but it's new to us. But I have a couple of videos on how to make some super grow beds. Take a look at those. Okay, they don't need any inputs, or if they do, they need very little, and they continue, I call them living grow beds. They continue to create soil. They're actually creating soil. You'll have to take a look at them to find out how. Anyways, moving on from that, so if you have an apartment, you know, get together and talk to people in your apartment building. It's time to go meet your neighbors. You know, how many years have you lived next door to people and don't even know who they are? You know, the other objections I hear is, well, I don't want to know my neighbors, or they're a pain, or this or that. You know, okay, well, maybe they're not right next door. Maybe you know, put an ad in Craigslist, you know, in the gig section or something, or the community section, looking for people who want to get together and do some community gardening. Now, a community garden doesn't have to be a single plot of land that everybody goes to garden. You know, everybody can grow something. And you know, those planter beds where you have all the ornamental shrubs or whatever, they can grow tomatoes. Folks, I have you know, I enjoy gardening, and so you don't have to have nothing fancy. You can grow, or you can make a small grow bed, or you can do it on the ground in mounds to amend your soil if you need good soil, or containers. Like I said, we grow tomatoes in containers. Okay. One of the reasons I do that is because we like to grow several varieties of tomatoes, and if we put them in the ground, they go nuts, and we have way too many tomatoes for our family. But now, you know, so with the supposed breakdown in the chain of supply, that's what it really is. It's a breakdown in the chain of supply, because yeah, the majority of people go to the store to get their food. Okay, that's changing, folks. A lot of things are changing, and we're going to have to change with it. And so, you know, maybe if you don't want to grow food, or you know, or you don't have time or whatever, maybe you can trade something else that you do for food. Go to that neighbor, that friend, that family, that person that you know at church or at whatever club you're in or whatever that's good at this sort of thing, and say, hey, you know, what would it take to get you to grow me some food, you know, or whatever, that kind of thing. Start talking to people, and what are your skills? Maybe you have, you know, mechanical skills or carpentry skills or computer skills or what have you, you know, and say, hey, you know, if you grow me this food, I'll trade you this or this or that, you know, or you can just pay them. So that'll stimulate the economy. You know, a lot of people are getting laid off, and corporations, you know, are crumbling in some cases. You know, the system is crumbling. Okay. The other thing I want to mention too about that, mentioning the system crumbling, I'm not a doom and gloomer type of guy. I used to be. The way I see this is telling us it's time to change. Okay, this is an opportunity for us to change to a better way of living, and more in cooperation with each other, and more in peace and goodwill to each other, especially at this time, you know, with wars and rumors of wars on the news. You know, it's time for people to start living more in cooperation with each other and bypassing the system. This is how they can, okay, I don't this is how they motivate people to do things, by controlling the food, the energy, the water, the power, etc. Okay, this is how some of the so-called elites use that to manipulate how things go, so that it'll go to their way, and it's all about money for some people. Okay, that's all crumbling too, and they know it, and that's why they're doing some of the things they're doing. It's kind of a last-ditch effort, if you will. I see all of this that's been happening, that's going on, that everybody thinks is so bad and so terrible, and I'm not saying it's not painful for people, but I see this as a bridge to a bright new future, because it's forcing people to reevaluate how things work and how things are going and what so on. And so don't get upset and panicked and have a lot of anxiety about it. Take some action and do something. And these are some simple things that you can do. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, talk to your acquaintances, put an ad on Craigslist, you know, or, you know, start a YouTube channel. I have another YouTube channel that I haven't really done much with, but I decided to start sharing the knowledge that I've gained over many years of gardening and farming and so on. Here on the farm, we raise our some extra beef, and we sell it to help pay for the cost of raising our own beef. Okay, we have chickens for eggs. We have a pregnant Jersey cow, so we might even try milking a cow. You know, and there's something that I don't really want to have to milk a cow every day. But while she's nursing her calf, if you start milking her a little bit, she'll produce extra milk, you know. And then let's say you get tired of milking her, then you stop milking her, and her body will adjust, you know. And it'll probably give the calf a little extra milk to start with, but eventually it'll adjust because the calf's not taking all the milk. Okay, that's something. So if you have some acreage, I have a video also on how to do that. You can raise, even if you just have a few acres, you can raise these medium-sized cows like Murray Greys or Aberdeen Lowlines or South Poles if you're down south. Greg Judy talks a lot about that, and he has a video channel. You can look up his video channel. He has a couple of books. Joe Salatin. Look up Joe Salatin. He's written several books. I believe he's got a YouTube channel too. And you'll get a lot more information there on how to do some of this stuff. But today with YouTube, I mean, I've been working on cars and motorcycles and things all my life, you know, but when I have to work on something, sometimes if I haven't worked on it before, I'll go on YouTube and find somebody who's already done what I've been doing and cut that learning curve. And so that's the whole point of all of this. So I hope that some of this can help. So you're just going to have to get creative, folks. It's time to change. It's time, and times are changing whether you like it or not. So it's time to start thinking outside the box, start doing some things differently. You don't have to have a farm. You don't have to be a farmer. You don't have to like gardening. There's ways to do things, you know. You don't have to do everything yourself. We have to cooperate with each other more. That's all. We do it anyways, but we do it, you know, we do it in the old model, the old consumer model. You go to the store, you know, and these people that, you know, have started these stores and stuff and growing them into big corporations, they put a lot of time and money into doing that, but it's not working anymore, and they're also subject to the powers that be, so to speak, on a lot of things, and so they're doing things that you know, that we don't like anymore. And you know what? We can just bypass them. Okay? I know it doesn't change overnight, but they're driving the change anyways. So it's time, like I said, look outside the box and start doing things a little differently and start thinking about some of this stuff. Okay? So let me just recap real quick here. So you can grow a garden. Okay, you can, even in your little backyard, you could have some pygmy goats and some chickens and stuff like that. In a lot of places, a lot of even subdivisions will allow, you know, up to 4 or 5 chickens or something like that, you know, as long as you don't have a rooster. But if not, you know, find some local farmers that you know, or some people that have some acreage, you know, that they might be out in the more rural outskirts areas. You know, and you might already know some people like that in your church or your clubs or your acquaintances, you know, or your work, and you know, talk to them and make a deal with them, you know, and trade your skills for theirs. You know, this is how the world revolves anyways. We're all trading our skills for other people's skills, you know, and we use money as our medium, and so we can do that for now. That's going to be changing too. You might want to look into some of that. Maybe I'll do another video on that sometime later. But you know, back to the recap. You know, you can container garden too. Even if you have land and you don't want to dig it all up, then just container garden. You know, you can do that right on your porch, you know, or your back patio or whatever, or you know, somewhere in the backyard. And it's easy to get there. It's easy to contain, that kind of stuff, you know. And you might enjoy it. For me, gardening is therapy. I enjoy it, you know. And there's actually microbes in the soil that they've done a study on that say, where they found that the microbes in the soil that you get on your hands and stuff, you know, and from the dirt actually it has a calming effect on you. So that might be why, you know, people enjoy it. So if you've never tried it before, give it a shot. You know, get some containers and get some seeds. Seeds are cheap, folks. You can buy, you know, thousands of seeds for a few dollars. Okay, so go ahead and do that. And right now is the time to do it. We're in March, and so this is spring in a lot of places, and we're just coming out of winter here. But it's time to start planting things, you know, and you can make little makeshift greenhouses. You don't have to have a big greenhouse. You don't have to have a whole lot of fancy stuff. I'll be doing some videos on that kind of stuff. I don't have a greenhouse, but I grow a lot of food. I have greenhouse covers on each of my grow beds, though. So, you know, I'd like to have a big greenhouse too, but I have a passive solar heated well house, and that doubles as like a greenhouse for a lot of my starts. I start them in there because it's warmer in there, you know, because it still sometimes gets too cold at night for starts, depending on what you're growing. Anyways, this has gotten longer than I wanted, and although I may edit some of it, we'll see. But you know, so anyways, no food shortage. All right, just take some action, and you know, it's not that big of a deal.